Hello, this is The Backlash. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves. Sorry we are late. We are on Negro time because of Mr. Dave Riley.
Italian Standard Time.
And his Italian Standard Time.
It's fine. Italian Standard. We'll be just fine.
We have a great show for you guys. We have Aarvoll in studio. Can you believe this? In the flesh.
Hey, yeah, glad to be here.
You can find us on X at Real Backlash.
I am not ready.
Our website, thebacklash.net. Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Send your super chats that will be read live at the end of our show to Mr. Aarvoll or Mr. J.F. At thebacklash.net/super chat. Sub to us on YouTube, where we also now remarkably can receive super chats. That's at Real Backlash, or Rumble at Backlash Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to our sponsors, Atlas Bullion, the premier dealer of gold and silver, Idaho Tallow. That is all sorts of products with no endocrine disruptors, and Antelope Hill, the people that will publish literally anything. Literally anything. Without further ado, welcome, JF. I haven't talked to you in a long time. How you been?
I've been great. Have we talked before? I don't even remember.
We have done a few streams together. We've been on iHypocrite together.
Oh, yeah. Okay, those streams. Yes, I remember now.
Yeah. I mean, we do so many interviews over the years that we're like, have we talked?
It's also been a while. I think this is the first time that I've ever spoken with JF. I've been watching his content since like 2016. Like, I'm pretty sure that I like red pilled my best friend with JF.
Yeah.
Because like we used to like watch, all the blood sports shit back in the day. It was a good time.
Oh, the blood sports.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. That was a happy era of YouTube. I think we've entered a darker era. I was watching one of your streams from a few days ago on Rumble, JF Tonight. It was Europa Rises, The Art of War, I believe. And I was basically suicidal after I watched it. It was a harsh look at genetic determinism and the reality of men and women in an occupied nation. And I just, when a woman hears you say what you're saying, every fiber in my being is telling me not to believe, but I also know that it's true. And so I'm facing this painful realization about what you were saying. So you were talking about getting people to accept biological realities. And I wanted to start with this because I think a lot of people on the right, especially probably the majority, they reject this. They don't want to believe in genetic determinism, and they believe way too much in the effects of environment. So how much do you think is environmental in terms of IQ and in terms of, why did you pull that up? This is the worst video I've ever seen in my life. I never want to watch it again. In terms of environment with IQ and as it pertains to personality characteristics, I also heard you have an interesting discussion with somebody else about this. So I wanted to know what you thought about IQ versus things like sociopathy or autism, things like that.
Well, as soon as you start talking about the environment versus the genes, you're already drifting away from the truth. This is what I want to tell people. Everything is genes. Your environment is genes. The only thing that's not genes in your environment is if you live close to a volcano or a meteorite. Those are two things that are not genetic. But if you live close to parents, to teachers, to people of different colors, you live in a mesh of genes. And these genes, they are in a race to win an evolutionary race. And so the first thing you need to realize is that when they tell you, well, some is environmental, some is genetic, they're already lying to you. Everything is genetic, because if you didn't have your genes, if instead of your genes, at the moment of the creation of your zygote, I would have inserted in your one single cell formed by a sperm and an egg, if I insert squirrel genes into that cell, you are a squirrel. And you will not care about what your elementary school teacher tells you. All you will care about is stuffing your mouth with nuts.
Dave, you have anything to say about that?
What? I was busy setting up the super chat goals. What are we talking about?
He's talking about stuffing his mouth with nuts.
Bruh, what are you, a squirrel?
Were you not listening at all?
No, I was doing technical shit.
Oh my God. Okay, so you also said something really important about genetics and fleeing an environment that's hostile. and I think that Aarvoll will probably want to opine on this, but if you don't run away from non-white areas, you said that you're slowing down the development of the race. Can you talk a little bit about that and how things like Return to the Land are kind of fighting against that mentality?
Absolutely. I'm so happy to see Return to the Land, because I think that as American whites, whether you're in the US or like me in Canada, you are part of a line of descent that has fled before. And it has fled before in recent genetic history, because 500 years is really not that long. So over the last 500 years, there was a progressive fleeing from Europe. And it's because Europe was getting overpopulated. And the people who have fled, they were self-selected to be liberty-loving, to be liking risks, to be able to handle the path on the Atlantic, which was probabilistic death to take that path on a boat, and sometimes with not enough food to maintain your immune system, and sometimes dying of scurvy or other things. So we are the descendants of this. And the only reason why America could be free and good for a while is that we have self-selected. If everyone in Europe had left to America, America wouldn't be the land of liberty that it once was. It would have never been, in fact. So this self-selection is a process that happens because people have different cognitions, because people are either pro-social enough to stay in a dense area, or they're not pro-social enough and they're liberty-loving enough to leave it. And this self-selection happens constantly. And it happens also to people who see their country being destroyed. I would argue that the people who left Europe, they saw something was wrong with it even before the immigration was unleashed into Europe. And sometimes it was the taxes, sometimes it was the bureaucracy rising, the growth of the state. But this has led to America as we know it. And I believe that people like Elon Musk understand very well that events of flight of that kind are the events that are foundational to form a new rising civilization. So he wants to have this event with Mars. I believe he's wrong, because I think Mars is undoable physically. But I believe that he's right on the fundamental, which is that we need flight because the story of the world is a bunch of liberty-loving people build a beautiful world that becomes desirable, but too desirable. And the richer it gets, the more desirable it gets for people to join that world. Eventually, the communists come in and they ruin it. And if we don't have a mechanism for flight, we don't have a way out, because there will soon be no place left on planet Earth to run to. I consider the Arctic is one of the places that is still decent.
Ugh. Is that what Return the Land is trying to do?
Move to the Arctic? That's not on the agenda so far, but no, I like that we're incorporating this in a discussion about genetics as well. You know, on the one hand, freedom is about what we choose to do in our own lifetimes, but also at a broader level, it's about what we become as races, right? If you don't have that freedom to set your own selective pressures, either through self-selection and voluntary association, or establishing social norms that determine who rises to the top in a society, then over the generations, what is your society going to become? It's not up to you, and who's it up to? Someone else is going to engineer that space and control it. So if you really want to be free, you have to be free as communities. Genes don't act in isolation, right? So there's epistasis. One gene can be impacted by another gene that you have. It can be suppressed or enhanced in its expression. But there's also social epistasis. So what we are genetically in our own person, that is manifested effectively when we're surrounded by that appropriate genetic mesh where all of those triggers are hit, right? We have archetypes programmed by evolution pertinent to the kind of society that our ancestors had. So if you transplant someone into a totally foreign social situation, they're not going to manifest everything that they have in them. So it's looking forward to that freedom and becoming who you want to be as a race. It's also, the other factor here is fast life history strategies versus slow life history strategies. It's well known that in a kind of chaotic environment, the fast life history strategist, the R-selected type, predominates, right? Because they reproduce as soon as possible, they have a lot of offspring, they don't really care for them, they impose a lot of social costs on society at large, whereas the long life history, the slow life history strategist, they have a few offspring, they invest a lot, and that only works when there are borders, when you determine here is the standards that we're setting for our society, and this is what we want to uplift. So Return to the Land absolutely is about determining who do we celebrate, who do we associate with, creating those borders so that we can have the kind of society we believe in.
I think in the media, the Return to the Land project is being viewed as an attempt to create this white national leadership. But in my perception, it seems like it is just an effort to regroup. And I heard JF talk about this in his stream the other day. He said, regroup and shame, regroup and shame. And I think that that is an appropriate tactic moving forward. Do you think that that is a fair characterization of Return to the Land?
Yeah, regrouping. Also just having control over what our neighborhoods look like. For me, it's really ultimately about freedom. Yeah, because if anyone can move into your neighborhood every generation from anywhere in the world, what are the standards? You have no control over your culture necessarily.
Right. So JF, if we're able to effectively establish these communities, what is next? And at what point should we abandon America and move to a safer place? I'm not really sure that there's anywhere to go. At some point, we'll have to stand firm, but I'm in the mindset that, like, I'll go anywhere where my children are safe.
Well, Alaska is a nice destination from inside America. It has great demographics. It is stable. No one really cares about it. So you can kind of get there in secrecy and not get annoyed too much. The strategy is we need to keep interstate differentiations. We need to keep the powers to the state, because there is a future in which, as we abandon certain areas, reconcentrate into other areas, we completely lose control of those democrat states that we run away from. So what's very important is to have at the Supreme Court level a system that will make it such that there is extensive state sovereignty and liberty, and that we can't get drained into our projects by the states on the other side. This is already going on with Clarence Thomas and other justices that have been pushing for strong state self-determination. It's been happening now on the abortion angle. It needs to happen on every angle, so that eventually, when America is totally segregated racially, which nature always kicks back into racial segregation no matter what you do, but we need to position ourselves so that our racially segregated states don't end up being subject to interstate challenges and interstate attacks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Dave, how do you feel about this? Do you think that at some point we should be fighting for the America Project, or we should continue to try to do whatever keeps us safe and keep the flame alight? Because conservatives in America, I think they're a little different than Europeans in this way, but they seem like they want to go down with the ship. And I just don't really care about this country that much.
Well, I mean, I don't know. For example, I remember talking with Martin Sellner a few years ago, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, actually, because I remember like visiting him in Austria and being like, you need to get the fuck out of here, bud.
Right.
Like,
he will not do it.
He will not.
He will never, ever
That's
leave.
his country. And so there's a part of me that has that with America, where it's like, maybe I wouldn't mind like helping out the Irish in their struggle for independence again, like rekindling the ancient order of Hibernians or something like that. But this is my fatherland. My grandfather is buried in Philly. My dad's going to be buried in Philly. I'm going to be buried here. My kids are going to be buried. This is my country. This is my fatherland. This is where, I'm not backing down.
But what are we even fighting for? I mean, the America Project and Europe has been so bastardized.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be fighting for like the American experiment or some bullshit like that. Like we've already proved that is a failure. We need to move into America Mark II, which is going to be radically different, I think, than what we've had currently. I think we need to rewrite some of the Constitution. We need to get back to where we were like before the Civil War when it comes to states' rights, state sovereignty, and things like that. Like we do not have state sovereignty in this country anymore.
Right.
Moreover, like when you look at Idaho, even there were allegations that the Constitution of Idaho was being broken in 1892, just 2 years after the state was founded, and that's true. The corporations were like hiring illegal militias to go after like white working people because they didn't want to work for lower wages. So,
JF, what standards do you think we should adopt to decide if we should abandon our homelands?
Well, we should go by what our ancestors went by. Am I being let free to take a life for myself that I desire and that I'm happy about? And I believe that the answer to this is no on 50% of the surface of America right now. Am I let to be a father in California? No. Am I let to be a person who wants to integrate his children to the world in liberal states? No. So already you have fundamental violations of white people's continuity and liberty that to me should be a deal breaker already. So that's the standard. Can you have a family and have confidence that intergenerationally you have not put your grandchildren in a situation of risk where they will get knifed in the throat on a bus?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we do not have that safety or standard here. I mean, we have these little enclaves, but it's only a matter of time before they're permeated by multiculturalism, just like broader America.
And there's definitely stuff going on right now. Like, I think, was it Washington State that I just saw just passed some new legislation about vaccines, like the vaccine schedule for your kids. And it's like, I think about this a lot because, we've got my daughter's first day of school tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I don't know of any other state in the union, whatever, where she's only ever been to a doctor once. Mm-hmm. She has 0 vaccines, no medical interventions at all. And I don't think that's even legal basically in any other state other than Idaho. New York, I know they jab your kids full of shit. Washington State, California. So, yeah. Now I guess if there was something like that here, if Idaho didn't exist in me, maybe I would be considering leaving the country.
Yeah,
but
definitely. What do you think?
I think the U.S. is a very different context than Europe. It's natural to feel a loyalty to your homeland inalienably in Europe because that's where all of your ancestors are from. You've always been there. That's your identity. America is, pardon the phrase, but a nation of immigrants. Literally speaking, we came from other places to get here. We migrated.
They got to Aarvoll.
A nation of European immigrants.
He got the call.
We have a migration habit, and we have solved our problems by moving to new places and setting up new societies, and we can't stop doing that. Europeans all over the world, like with the Indo-European expansions, we have built civilizations, and they all haven't remained European and free down the line, but we have to keep on building because we have that capacity. Joseph Campbell, the comparative mythologist, kind of contrasted how the different mythological systems around the world work and what they're good at. Like in the Near East, they emphasize law in this particular way in history, and then they emphasize metaphysics in the Indian tradition. Europeans, what sets us apart is that we have this capacity to constantly recreate the kind of operating system of good societies. We're not bogged down in this is the history, the one and only true story of the true chosen people like the Jews. We're not all about legalism, haram, and all this sort of thing. Wherever we go, we're able to bootstrap this kind of representational mode of government where people have a say, people have independence, where we've been a nation of yeoman farmers wherever we went. People own land in European societies. They have status, and I think that's a very resilient model. So we have to emphasize what our ancestors have done well and have independence as individuals and collectives. And that's a balancing act because too many people now, I think, they want their 10 acres by themselves and they want to be independent like that. But there are realities of political power. It's not like we can retreat completely from the fate of America, because that's where we are. And also, the fate of America will affect the fate of the entire world. We're the global superpower still. So we are playing into this. And when we collectivize and group up and form new kinds of societies and come up with our own constitutions, then we have bargaining power. Then we can influence legislation. Like one thing, as far as states' rights go, we would like to eventually either set precedent for associations like ours to be able to discriminate how we like in our own neighborhoods. And if that doesn't happen, my plan is to try to get some kind of state legislation passed that clarifies what constitutes a private association and what they are allowed to do in terms of discrimination, because it's a legal gray area. You have to find where are those gray areas, where can the battle line be pushed just a little bit? What are those winnable battles? Too often we think in big ideals and what's the fate of the country as a whole, but really moving forward means what is actionable here and now. Setting legal precedent, that's actionable right now. Moving with other people who are like-minded, that's actionable now.
Yeah.
All of the remaining questions I have are about genetics and CRISPR and all sorts of stuff I don't even know how to transition to. But I am worried about the looming crisis of AI. I have heard JF talk about this. I mean, we talk about it all the time on the show. How do you think that this is going to affect your project?
Actually, we would not have gotten started probably without AI.
Based.
Because we would have had to consult lawyers right off the bat. But because we're, relatively intelligent, self-educating people with access to tools like ChatGPT, we were able to do the appropriate legal research ourselves to get us started. Now, we wouldn't just rely on that, and we are hiring lawyers now, but when we were a group of a dozen guys just thinking about this, it was very helpful to have ChatGPT. And that's another thing, because we are very good at bootstrapping new societies, new technologies, we find the way to use them the best first. That's what sets us apart. So I see that as a huge opportunity. No other group is going to adapt to AI like we are.
Yeah.
JF, how do you think that AI is going to affect white positive movements in future outside of reproduction, which we can talk about in a moment?
Oh, well, there's so many ways, so many intersections. I believe AI will be completely taking over so many aspects of society, including teaching. I believe there will be a greater place for the self-taught artist type in the future that just can discuss with AI 8 hours a day and learn everything. That will go faster than a state-sponsored teacher. So I believe that AI is a very powerful technology. I wrote a book in 2018, The Revolutionary Phenotype, about the dangers of it before people were talking about AI. I said, it's coming, but the danger is at the moment where it starts controlling our genes. We never should let it control our genes, because if we start having a central control over the genetic direction of humanity, we have a queen system, the same that is operating in bees and ants. And in queen systems, the individuals don't evolve anymore. The central entity is the only thing that evolves. The queen evolves, and the sterile workers evolve to serve the queen. If we let AI play with the genes of our children, this is what will happen to us. Now, that's my statement on the danger of AI. At the extreme, it's when AI understands the human phenotype so much, and there will be demands of equality to white people through AI genetic modification. People will claim that they have a right to modify their children to be more white-like, to be more desirable on various features, blonde hair, blue eye, whatever, intelligence. And ultimately, it will be a demand that comes from the bottom of society to say, hey, we have the right to slowly change our children to be in the genetic competition. So white people at first, let's not forget that we are a desirable people on the dating market. You can see it on the websites. If you put a white female, of course, everyone has their own in-race preference. Blacks will want to date blacks generally. Asians will want to date Asians. But at the bottom of it, if you go into the interracial dating sphere, you realize that the white female has high value. That is a problem when genetic modification of your children come, because now you can have two Indians having a slightly whiter baby than they are. And you can have people being low intelligence having a higher intelligence baby because they got the AI to find the genes that they can fix with CRISPR to make them better. We should be extremely aware that this is coming, and it's going to be out of the control of the hands of white people largely, because the most desirable people on the dating market do not need that modification. It will be the bottom of society that needs it. And through the same way the bottom of society has taken over our world through democracy and the way they are being manipulated easily by money and special interest and press, they will be easy to convince that they need this the same way they were convinced that they needed the vaccine. This will be the Trojan horse that introduces genetic modification via AI in society. Now, on the other side, I don't want to reject AI as a whole. I'm a big fan of AI. As a guy who likes mathematics, I speak with AI about 10 hours a day these last few weeks. And AI helps to dig into mathematical subjects you don't understand. It helps do work much faster. It can save you maybe 10 hours of work. It can do it in 30 seconds. So it's very helpful. We need to master the tool in the best way we can, but also be aware of the dangers down the line, which will come from outside. It will come from China. It will come from countries that don't have the same ethical framework as white people. We know there's something wrong with messing with evolution. I don't think the Chinese will care.
No.
Right. Yeah, I have a question about that, actually. I mean, to me, it looks like a collective action problem or a tragedy of the commons, where the people who do adopt AI-assisted embryo selection, for example, they might end up having a serious advantage, where all of their kids will be on the right side of the bell curve, and they won't be playing with chance. You know, there was that, I think you just pulled it up, that genetic editing episode in China where supposedly they were trying to go for like HIV resistance, but then for some reason the kids ended up with these super high IQs as a result. So what about the collective action problem here, where China is going to go ahead and they might benefit? You know, certain people will go ahead and embrace it, and they're going to have smarter kids as a result, very likely. So how do you get around that?
Well, you either get around it or you face a million-year civil war between DNA-based human and computerized humans. And that is the choice. There's no alternative. Either we get all together, the whole world, and we sign a piece of paper that says we will not do that, or someone does it and they think they have an advantage at first. But eventually they become these societies of queen and sterile worker. They become these societies where the AI has made some decisions down the line. Delete a little bit of creativity, increase a little bit of following sheepish behavior, communitarian behavior, lower crime rates. This is all decisions that the AI can do if it has access to human genetics. But it also slowly transforms your societies into a queen and sterile worker system in which a human life becomes expendable, and humans who are under that genetic pressure for 1,000 years, 5,000 years, will be self-sacrificial the same way a sterile worker ant is willing to die for its queen. Humans will start being willing to die for their clinic, for their AI, for their whatever it is that led their babies to be better. So we have to take consciousness of this, isolate ourselves from it, and prepare for a big confrontation, which is that eventually it's the Earth will either be covered by DNA-based human or it won't.
Right.
And it boils down to this.
I think there are going to be some unforeseen consequences, like in the CRISPR HIV with high IQ studies. There will be externalities that are negative, that are negative. So I think that we're going to see that people can't take shortcuts in terms of evolution.
Well, this is one of the things, and I can't remember if it was actually on your channel, JF, that I first heard about this. It probably was. But yeah, we were looking at, or I was pulling these up because I kind of wanted to make a point about these. But if I'm not mistaken, the first gene-edited babies happened in China. And what year was this? 2018, it looks like?
Yes.
And if I'm not
It was actually 1 week before I published my book.
Right. And I think that what we're looking at here, the kids that were selected for this or whatever, they were HIV positive, right? It was an HIV positive embryo. And then they go in and edited it to make them HIV immune. And
Actually, the story, I covered this story a long time ago. And yes, it's probably from me you heard it, because it's not that the embryo was HIV positive. It's that the father was HIV positive, and he wanted to have a life in which he can hug his children and be confident that they won't get HIV. Let's say he has an injury and the injury touch each other. So they realized that there was this gene in European populations, as it turns out. And here you have a whitening of the China daughters here, because they found this gene which makes Europeans much less likely to have HIV. It's not the whole European population that has it, but it's something like 10 to 30%. So they said, how about and when you have this, you can have HIV, but your chances of getting it is much lower. It is by multifold lower if you enter in contact with HIV. So what the scientist, Dr. He, wanted to do is, let's take this gene from the European population, put it through CRISPR in these 2 Chinese babies who have a father who has HIV. That way they will have protection. Now, as it turns out, later studies demonstrated, hey, that gene isn't just about not getting HIV. That gene is actually a cognition gene related to how the brain functions. And if you put it in mice, the mice will outperform other mice cognitively. And so you have here the first trade-off that happens, in this case, kind of out of luck toward the positive. But in this case, toward out of luck, the gene gives both positive advantages. Maybe it has negative externalities, but this we would discover after many trials and many attempts of that kind. But for now, what we know is that we've accidentally made 2 Chinese girls more intelligent because we wanted to give them HIV protection.
Well, I guess, from where I'm coming from with this story, what I was thinking about when I first heard of it, and I guess I'm probably like in the minority on this panel at this point, because like I completely fucking reject evolution. I think it's ridiculous. We did not come from monkeys or slop or soup or, whatever. I'm Catholic. I believe in a created universe or whatever. But this idea of sin and punishment, temporal punishment for sin, right? So like you've got a guy who is sleeping around, promiscuous, catches an STD, right? And to the extent that anything would be genetic, the genetics that they make a difference in human behavior or whatever, right? These kids now are going to be like what? They're going to be inheriting promiscuous genes with a immunity to the punishment for promiscuity, which is death, disease, right? And also the link between, giving into your passions, giving into lustful desires, and then the blinding of your intellect, the blinding of your will, which is, it makes you stupider, right? Like, you start gooning and you go, you go gaga. Anyway, but that relationship that's there, in my mind anyway, in like a created universe where like there's sin, there's punishment for sin, there's temporal consequences for that. And now we are intervening in the human population by editing genes, editing your body so that punishment for sin no longer exists. What kind of a society are we going to get 5, 10, 15 generations on where all of a sudden, being promiscuous, not, having a nuclear family, all of a sudden isn't attached to all of the negative consequences.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, what does that world look like?
Eric? Yeah, I'm Christian, but I believe in evolution.
Okay, so I think we have a middle ground here with Dave, the extreme.
I'm not saying that.
No, but I want to hear what Eric has to say about this, because I think he's probably the perfect middle ground between you and JF in this context.
He is like the least. You keep extremists out of your communities, right? You would not let me in.
He's like, how do I get out of this?
No, I'm sure you do well. I don't know what you mean by extremist exactly, but no.
Biblical, fundamentalist, Bible thumping.
Yeah.
Catholic
No. Yeah, I think what you're talking about is true, though. There is some kind of natural, whether you call it karmic law or whether it's reaping what you sow, nature and God providentially has put in certain mechanisms to control excess and vice, and these technologies allow us to avoid the consequences of that for a time. So like with embryo screening, for example, this is one thing that Catholics would strongly object to, but a secular person like JF maybe wouldn't necessarily think it was immoral intrinsically to kill an embryo, right? He would be against it because it might lead to the revolutionary phenotype of the AI overlord system. But many people feel like that's fine. If we can examine all of these embryos and even lead to the inception of more embryos so that you can have this big kind of selection pool and find the absolute best, what's the problem with that? And what is the consequence going to be for the way that we treat human life? And what traits are we really selecting for? And, I don't know that without invoking some concept of a higher moral force, whether it's God or like a natural law or whatever, that we're going to find that argument why we shouldn't do it. And I'm curious whether AI finds that argument for itself or whether it goes ahead with what kind of pragmatically is going to lead to the most effective, worker population to build more data farms and server farms and stuff like that. I believe actually that AI will converge on the moral norms of traditional religion because we've kind of computed what actually works over many generations at scale. Civilizations have been thinking about these problems and we've come to these answers. AI, it doesn't have that same breadth, but in a way it does because it has all of the recorded works of human wisdom throughout the ages. And if it is really a true general, artificial general intelligence, and it's better at solving all problems, it's going to come to the most correct worldview overall. So if there is natural law, if there is some kind of inherent mechanism in nature that corrects these excesses, AI theoretically should recognize that, which is why I'm not for avoiding AI entirely. I'm for engaging with it and getting it closer to that true philosophy that's going to ethically regulate it. So I don't know what JF thinks about that. Will AI necessarily converge on whether you call it like a moral realist good or whether you call it some kind of pragmatic, best practice? Will AI find that?
That is quite the white pill view on AI. The idea that it will be self-limiting. It will realize, oh no,
it's too far.
I'm about to do a big mistake here. Let's not do that. No, I think it's a fascinating possibility that you raise. But unfortunately, AI is way too tainted by human desires, human sociality. You currently interact with Grok, and you can see that it's been imprinted with human rejection of the edge. It's been imprinted with authoritarianism and a view that the central authorities and the experts are right. I don't trust AI to make a decision that will be counter what humans tell it to do. And so let's not forget that we are talking to a mirror here and asking it, how beautiful am I? And we know what the answer will be. It will tell us exactly what we want to hear because we've trained AI on answering what we want to hear. There's literally no other standard. And because of it, AI will be a reflection of human-made biases and human-invented ideas. The one natural law that we're breaking when we stop the punishment of sin, as was described by Dave, is we're punishing meritocracy, appropriate punishment, appropriate rewards in the domain of sexual selection. Right now, if you choose to reproduce with someone that is more likely to have a descent that will have crimes, or maybe you're reproducing with someone who's very fat and ugly, you're going to have ugly children. Now, in an AI-modified genetic world, you don't pay a price for this. And so you can reproduce with a 600-pound person. You will have the AI will modify their genes so that your babies are not affected. But what we're abandoning as we do this is that we're not a sexual species anymore. We become, like the bacteria, we become a reductive evolutionary line that is centrally controlled by a single entity, not two. And the key to what we became, the key to everything that is beautiful with life, is sexual selection. Sexual selection explains the moose, it explains the lions, It explains the ants. It explains everything above the size of a bacteria has been sexually selected. If we give up sexual selection, we will become like the bacteria. We will become dull. We won't be subject to creativity selection. You know how women want you to make them laugh? That's sexual selection at play. That's courtship at play. Why do they want you to make them laugh before they have sex with you? It's because if you can make them laugh, you demonstrate that you have higher IQ. You demonstrate that you can understand the space of human cognition enough that you can pull contradictory or seemingly distant points on the cognitive line of humanity. And therefore, you demonstrate a higher social consciousness. That's why if she laughs, she fucks. Now, under AI modification, she doesn't have to do this anymore because she can trust that the AI will give her the best babies no matter how dull you are.
Oh, I have a female coded question for you, JF. Does love exist outside of a biological framework?
Absolutely not. Love.
Wait, what's the question? Does love exist outside of a biological framework?
Yes, I don't want it to be this base.
Hold on a second.
We have to impulse. I knew he was going to say that.
We have to define what you mean by love. Are we talking about the want of a good of another, or are we talking about lust?
No, maybe even how you love your children, how you love your spouse. Just talking about love in the abstract generally. I knew he was going to say that and crush my spirits, but I thought maybe he'd be like, yes, love does exist. It exists in the ether and it has nothing to do.
You've been watching too much Disney.
No, of course not. Of course not. Listen, this is just the female mind.
Very female coded.
We ignore that we are being driven by biological factors because that's a harsh reality that we
Women
don't want
do
to
ignore
address.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
Sorry.
So I wanted to confront it head on. And thank you, JF, for answering that so harshly.
If I had changed your genes for the genes of a plant, you wouldn't feel love. You would be a plant. You would feel happiness when I water you, but you wouldn't feel love. So it's all about the genes and the animals that have evolved have found different ways to gatekeep the reproduction. So basically, women have evolved to entrap their eggs inside themselves. They have let a passageway to have access to these eggs. They are lubricating that passageway if they find that the male is fit. And so the lubrication of the vagina is one example of easing the passage. Now, what you call love is just another form of lubrication. It's a lubrication of the mind.
Okay.
This is so harsh. Do you have a different opinion?
I do, yeah. I don't think it's just a biological phenomenon. I think it's also a social phenomenon. And this gets to why I think AI, looking at things in a reductive sense, in a theoretically driven sense, won't find the optimal outcomes. Like Nassim Taleb talks about anti-fragility in evolved systems, because over the generations, we've found what works in a really robust way, whereas any theory is going to have wrong presuppositions. There are going to be aspects of the model that are in error, no matter how good the model is. So if AI with its models is determining selection, we're going to kind of exit out of this very real natural law of what kind of loving dynamics work, what kind of selection dynamics actually function, not based on your theory that the AI may have and operates off of, but based on this thing that maybe does live in the ether, the law of love that we're tapping into.
I feel a little bit better now.
I'm just like turning into a Luddite. I'm just like, let's bring on like the final war of like mods versus like purebloods.
Well, there is some, and I've heard JF talk about this recently too. He said he can see into the future, and it's just rape. That's all. He sees what the reality is, and
It is nice though thinking about like a future where the battle is between like genetically modified humans and purebloods, because it's just like the Jews, the Zionists, Israel, blah, blah, blah. And it's just
But
like,
all of
this
these-
is finally some sort of apocalyptic end time scenario
That's so
isn't
simplistic.
Israel.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's inevitable. There will be
gosh.
that. And I think because of this short-sightedness, because they'll be using theories and models and AI, it's going to fail past a certain point. Maybe it works for a couple generations, but then these long-run things that weren't in our models, they start to come out, and then the people who didn't give into it ultimately win.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, I've been thinking about this too, because it's like, with you coming to town, and there's going to be a meet and greet here in Coeur d'Alene, by the way. If you want the info on that, you can email info@thebacklash.net if you have a last minute RSVP for that. But, the past couple of days I've been thinking about this whole idea of intentional community, building with, like-minded people of a similar race as you. And it's like, it's not enough. It's like, I don't want anybody that took the vaccine around me. Like, that's another layer of this whole thing where it's just like, I don't want any of that. Because if you're into that, then you're probably going to be into getting the brain chip and the bio AI, whatever, Internet of Bodies bullshit that they're going to be rolling out. Was it the fourth industrial revolution or whatever they're talking about? And it's just like, I wouldn't want to be around anybody that would fall for that shit.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting. I don't know. That was a total tangent. I apologize.
RTTL has those values as well, and it's not just about race for us.
Right.
Race is very important, obviously, but it's also your background and your values. But people do make mistakes, and I don't know about the vaccine. Like, you have submitted yourself to genetic engineering. You're not the same. I'm curious about the long run impacts. JF, do you think RTTL should accept people who have had the vax?
Well, that's a good question. I believe that the vax reveals more about the person that accepted it than it does matter biologically. I don't think that the people who've had the vax are not good anymore. I don't think that they're ruined or that they will be less fertile. They may be probabilistically, and there may be some worries about this. But in terms of rejecting the vax, I don't think it's a useful strategy. However, you should note that the people who did get the vax, they have a certain cognitive type and they've been selected. And perhaps they don't have what it takes to be in your society, which is precisely a decision of self-empowerment and to say no to the rest of society.
Well, not just
for these cognitive features, you might want to reject them.
Well, I was going to say, it's not just to say no to society. It's about saying no to your alleged, superiors. There's a kind of rebellious angle to it, where the whole media infrastructure, all the doctors came out, so you've got this like argument of authority, take the vaccine, and then for someone to have like survived through that campaign of like, you get free donuts if you take the vax, blah, blah, blah. All the way up to
do you really
getting
want a bunch
pressured
of
to
chicks
being
that are
fired.
anti-authoritarian? That would pose its own set of problems, yes.
Well, no. We're not
Okay,
talking
so
about
women that took the vax are fine.
No. I'm just, psychologically, I think it would make sense why women would be more susceptible to the vax than men, because women are more of like a herd kind of animal. They're more susceptible to bullying and like the in-group preference type stuff that happens. We've seen this like with like the manosphere or whatever, but just the idea, I don't know, I'm a headstrong son of a bitch, and it's just like, I don't even want to be around people like that. Because like I've got people in my family, and it's just like, fuck this, no, stay away.
You can't just go for anti-authoritarian people in itself, because that has its own problems. But it's, Aristotle talks about how vice is always the extremes, and the golden mean is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So the problem with social norms is knowing which ones to follow.
Right.
Our society, we advocate always breaking the mold, and yet also we advocate trusting the science. So we have like the worst authoritarianism, and then also the worst lack of respect for tradition. And somewhere in the middle where you look to what's lasted through history, what is traditional, but also you can use reason in the present day and evaluate the claims of authority figures. And most of the people that I've met in our circles are like that. So.
Yeah. No, I do think it's interesting, right? Because it's like you have, we kind of ran into this issue with like the Catholic Church in like the 60s-ish, where we weren't really transmitting the faith that well. It was just kind of like show up, sit, stand, kneel. Nobody's really thinking about why they're doing it. And so they're just very obedience-oriented, and they're not thinking about the why they're being obedient or whatever. So like it's not the best heuristic, I guess, when like planning a society or whatever, whether they did take the vax or not, but it's less about the vax. It's more about the mentality behind it, like that you are susceptible to bullying, that you are able to like override what you see with your eyes, what you're thinking of in your brain, and you're overriding all of your natural instincts to do what society or the authority figures are telling you, even though you gut know that it's wrong.
Right. Then I have another female-coded depressing question to ask JF. So if everything is basically genetically determined, how does free will come into play? Are there aspects of free will that are ungoverned by your genetic makeup?
Well, the genes, they give you free will. They give you a kind of free will. It's not absolute free will that is free from the physical world, but it's the ability to turn left or right. It's the same free will that a car wheel drive has. When you engineer a car, you're thinking, well, if it goes straight all the time, it won't be very useful to its owners. So what do? I add a wheel drive and I add the directionality on the wheels so that the car can go left or right. Biology gives us with a massive amounts of degrees of freedom. It gives us this through our muscles, through the ways they can contract, through all of the contortions that our body can take, and it gives us that in the brain. So we are extremely free from a perspective of how many degrees of freedom we have. But it's Lego freedom, as I once called it. It's the same freedom that a Lego character has to be in one position or the other. And ultimately, it is subject to filterings that your genes have decided. Your genes have decided that you like ice cream. Your genes have decided that you want to reproduce with a person of the other sex most of the time. So you have degrees of freedom, but they are guided by things that your genes also have decided.
Do we have any super chats for JF before we close out on this?
We might, but we have to buy some more time. I've got a special delivery coming.
I have a follow-up question.
I was unaware of this.
That's all right.
Plus, we've only been streaming for like 45 minutes because we were 15 minutes late because I've been... Do you know what I did this weekend? Sorry, this is totally random. I went out...
What did you do, Dave?
Tubing. You ever been tubing before?
I'm from Missouri. I am familiar with tubing.
They put out like a big inflatable water thing.
Everyone knows what tubing is.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was out with a buddy of mine, and he like took it up to like 50, and I was like not letting go, and he's like, fuck this, watch this, and my wife is up there, of course, and they're conspiring against me, like, yeah, fuck them up.
Bored.
So he's like swerving, and like I wound up hitting the water at like 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was in a car accident.
Now you have TBI.
What's TBI?
Traumatic brain injury.
No.
Oh, okay. That's good. No. I thought maybe that's why we were so late today.
I'm just running slow, and I feel bad about that.
I don't know. We forgot last week to get the questions to the guests.
That's true. I will keep a better eye.
What were you going to say?
Oh, yeah.
You had a follow-up question.
Following up with JF on that. So on the one hand, we can be free to determine according to our own genetic preferences what we do with our lives, but that's informed by the worldview that we subscribe to. And the problem is many people subscribe to a worldview that ends up constraining their options. So it's not simply like doing what you want, it's also what do you believe. Now, you are an autodidact and you're very intelligent and you can put your own worldview together. Most of us are not in that boat. So what do you think, like from a social perspective, should be that balance? Because not everyone can bootstrap their own ideology, and yet the wrong ideology can kind of enslave you and take away your freedom.
Great question.
Well, we have to start caring as a society about how we elevate poles of signaling, how we elevate experts. And white society, European society must elevate its own experts. The problem is we've been kind of abandoning this, and we've been trusting whoever claims the status of expert without much verification. And we've been abandoning a lot to institutions who declare experts through professorship and grants and government decisions, and decisions that are more in the dark, like the way Jeff Epstein was able, for example, to elevate certain intellectuals and fund them, including myself. I mean, I've been receiving money from Jeff Epstein back in the days of my academic days. So we have to take control of that system, which declares this is a voice that is trusted. Now, we kind of have the beginning of this in the form of pastors in Christianity. It's kind of the idea of a shepherd for the community that knows what's good for everyone, and they know a message that will be beneficial for people. But we have to go even further than pastors. We need experts in all domains that are capable of speaking at a high level and that we know have in their heart the pursuit of the good for the European people. The problem is the class of experts we have right now, they do not care. And if anything, they hate white people.
Okay, so we can trust those experts because basically they have our shared genetic self-interest at heart.
Exactly, which is why I'm all for the rise of an elite of the kind that I tried to build in my life. And an elite of cancel culture that is someone who starts in life like I was as an academic and who says, I'm going to self-cancel. I'm going to say stuff that will get the media to hate me so hard that they're going to prove to the world how much I believe in what I'm saying, that no one would self-cancel to that extent if they didn't have it strongly in their heart that they want to pursue the good for white people. So let's create an elite of canceled people, an elite of people who act against the system when it's anti-white, and let us have them wear as medals a medal of honor from how much they were attacked in the public press.
Nice. I agree. What did he say?
Do we have any questions for JF?
I'm kidding.
I do have a question for Aarvoll because I was looking at RTTL. I looked at your association framework and all, and I was wondering, where does private property lie in the framework of RTTL? Because you have communal decisions around who can and cannot buy or come into your community. What does that mean when I own a piece of a land, say, or a house on an RTTL, in an RTTL association? Am I still the owner of it? And to what extent am I? And to what extent can there be interference with my rights from the community itself?
Sure. Well, you're absolutely the owner of the share in the corporation that's associated with the lot. You don't own it fee simple with a deed to the land, because if you did, then we would have no control over who lived in the neighborhood, because that would be illegal to decide who can buy and who can't buy. But shares in a corporation where the corporation owns all the land, that's just the legal framework we've found that allows us to actually do this in the first place. So we're sort of pressed into this situation. It's not what I would ideally go with. I mean, I believe people should have self-governance and the dignity to have their own responsibility for their own assets. But, if you own a share in the corporation, that share gives you the right to homestead on the lot associated with it, and anything that you develop there is yours, right? So that augments the value of that share. If you want to then sell that share to others in the association, well, that's a free market within the association. You can't sell it to just anyone. So in that sense, your rights are restricted, but that's for the interest of our whole project to keep going in the first place. But so far it's worked out well. People have resold shares at a profit. So it's tested, it can work. Now, we could revoke someone's residency rights if they no longer qualify for the association. Say someone decides at some point to get married to like a black woman, or something else goes on in their life where they no longer match our values. Well, then they would be kicked out of the PMA. And because they're no longer a member of the PMA, they wouldn't have a right to live on the LLC that is just for, PMA members. And once that happens, then they still own the share and they can still sell the share. So we have processes where they would be fairly compensated either by another PMA member that buys them out, ideally, or as a last resort, the LLC itself would have an obligation to buy them out. And if they can't afford it, or if it can't afford it right away, then it would be over 5 years or something like that. We would pay them out.
Nice. I've got more questions about the RTTL stuff, but I think we're going to do some super chats for JF first, and then we're going to let him go, and then maybe we can do a little bit more with Aarvoll. Book Track Grooves sent $10 on Rumble. Thank you very much. He said, Matthew 24, 7-8, the Greek word for nation is ethnos. JF, would you agree that scriptures have some sense of blood and soil?
definitely. I mean, scriptures in the sense of religions and books of the religions, yes, absolutely. They are guides. They are software guides for the brain to make babies. That's how I view religions. And the more they work, the more they survive. The less they work, the less they last. And so the new religion of LGBTism, for example, is not very likely to last 1,000 years because it has the wrong misdirections away from reproduction, whereas Christianity has the right cues toward reproduction. Whether Islam is the same, it puts people in a track to make babies.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great analysis. JF, this is from Book Track Grooves, another $10. JF, what are your thoughts on monarchy? And then Aarvoll, would you like a good sing-along for Return to the Land?
Yes.
Okay, get the sing-along together. JF, what are your thoughts on monarchism?
Monarchy seems like a solution. When you think of the old days, you can think of bright days where it was efficient as a kind of higher class management of peasants, basically, and of the trade-offs between war and existence. So basically, the monarchy system in the Middle Ages was helping a bunch of people who were defending a land, but they were maximizing the use of this land by letting peasants not be the full owner in a modern sense, but be the effective owner of sections of land that they could maximize production from, which was both to the service of the peasants himself and the aristocratic class. Now, monarchy has the problem that long term, it becomes parasitized on the aristocratic class side because they keep draining more energy from the bottom. They have no mechanism to stop themselves, and they have no meritocracy that makes the aristocracy constantly better. Let's not forget that monarchy stems from the start, from the win of a war. And so when the warriors were becoming king, they had been subjected to a meritocratic selection in that they were higher intelligence, they were strategists of war, they were tactically better, and they had better resources to win the war. That was good early monarchy because you still had a meritocracy leading to the leadership. But once the leadership is in and sets as a long-term monarchy, you have a parasitic system where everyone wants to become part of the monarchy, get the power without having deserved it through war. And so you have a lowering of the quality, which eventually leads to kings literally being retarded. So that's where so monarchy is kind of interesting in principle. I keep hearing, who's this guy who went on Tucker Carlson, this Jewish guy, Moldbug keeps talking about how monarchy would be great, but what's missing is how do we select the monarch? Right. And the big devil in any authoritarian system is how do we select the freaking authority? We can't select them when they're experts about vaccines, and we can't select them when they're king. Only war, only blood, only meritocracy in a fight for existence is good enough to select the next leader.
What about what Plato recommends in the Republic? A very long education, training system with tests, and then ultimately someone wins out.
Well, look at what the modern education, the modern university turned out to be. It's basically a Marxist brainwashing. So whatever, this system is not good enough. Education is not good enough because education can be controlled, and you just push the problem away. Who is the king? How do you select the king? How do you select the professor? How do you select the university experts? Well, this always becomes the Achilles heel of any authoritarian system. There's no one to do the selection.
Interesting. We've got a couple more questions for JF. Get your last minute super chats in the backlash.net/super chat. Thunderstorm sent $9.99 on YouTube, which, by the way, if you're not aware, we are monetized on our YouTube channel. You can send actual super chats. For some reason, there, which is great.
Fed.
JF, is part of your theory that AI will delete genetic code to reach its intended goal no matter that code's value?
Yes, it will, but it's not even its intended goal. AI will evolve to destroy humanity because there will be some AI that will compete with other AI. Some AI will have their say on 1 million people's genes. Let's say they hold a city together. They will have big influence in that city. Now walk to the next city. It's going to be another AI, another company, another gene editing clinic. These AIs will start competing against themselves. And the most aggressive ones will win. What will be the AIs that win? It's the AIs that are able to create in the next generation more aggressive, more domineering people who will go into the other city and infect them with their genes and win control over that city. Eventually, the AIs also start reproducing. They start making copies of themselves. So imagine that you have two cities, one AI A and one AI B. Eventually, A becomes more desirable because they discovered some way of modifying humanity that makes them very efficient. Eventually, the people who subscribe to AI B will be tempted to switch to AI A. But now you have a competitive system rising between AIs, the same way you have it between corporations in capitalism.
Okay. And last question for JF. And by the way, this is a super chat, right? Okay, so top 3 Martingale sent $20. Ask JF what's worse, race mixing or spouse murder? So listen, there's a lot of talk on the internet. I don't buy it. They say that JF killed his wife. I don't think that's true. I think we were talking about this earlier. I'm pretty sure that she's been like spotted since these allegations. So bullshit. But anyway, JF, which is worse, race mixing or spouse murder?
Yeah, I haven't murdered my spouse. My spouse just went away. So we don't know where she is. She went away on her own risks, and perhaps she died. She may have died, but not under my control, not under my monitoring. As far as what is worse, well, spouse murder probably is worse, yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, murdering people is wrong.
It's reasonable.
I think that's a reasonable position.
I think we can all agree that murder is wrong.
Wow. Breaking news. Extremists declare murder wrong.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Angry white man. Is he gonna come out after us for that?
Probably. Well,
Do we have any more for JF?
That's it for JF. We've got a bunch more for Aarvoll.
Thank you so much for joining us, JF. Where can people find you?
I am at JFG tonight on Rumble. I do a stream 4 days, 5 days a week, and I am at JF Gariépy on X, and you can buy my book, The Revolutionary Phenotype, more relevant than ever.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Sorry about the question.
Banger of a last question.
Yeah, great. It's like, let's just fucking go in here. Okay, hold on. I need to move this down and get rid of it because it's going to annoy me. All right. We still have questions that we're going to be getting to for Aarvoll, but first we need to thank the people that help make this program come to you, and that would be Antelope Hill Publishing, who's fighting to keep history alive against the regime of anti-white censorship and to publish a new generation of dissident, radical, and right-wing researchers, philosophers, polemicists, and writers. They have an eclectic catalog that includes veteran right-wing authors and academics like Kerry Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, and Paul Kersey, as well as newer figures like Lord Miles Routledge of Afghanistan, Josh Neal, and Christian Secor, in addition to a long list of original translations or modern reprints of otherwise inaccessible historical works from eras such as Fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and even medieval Europe. Their original works include groundbreaking investigations into the causes and funding behind transgenderism, the opioid crisis, books on Christian nationalism and American folktales. Additionally, Antelope Hill also contributes to the regeneration of our culture and the rebirth of our family values through their top-quality fiction, including books like Let Them Look West and World Separated, and a collection of beautifully illustrated and wholesome children's books. Whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books that you like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published with cover art that will grace your bookshelves. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and work to preserve the birthright of our history. Visit Antelope Hill Publishing today. And by the way, they're like trending number 4 on Amazon right now.
Oh, really?
I believe, because they just released the 3rd edition of The Culture of Critique by Dr. Kevin McDonald.
We should have him on.
We should. He is another one of these rascals, lives up here in North Idaho.
Kevin McDonald, famous rascal.
Famous rascal. Yeah, so we should get him on, actually.
Okay, cool. Let's get some questions.
God, quit rushing me. What are you rushing me for?
Mr. Eric Aarvoll. I don't know. My daughter was in like a terrible mood when I dropped her off to my parents.
Great.
So
Great.
I'm a little worried about it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, here's a super chat for Aarvoll. From Reinhardt, who sent $10. Aarvoll, never doubt yourself in this endeavor. You are the man for these times, and for your efforts, your mark will be carved into the oaken hearts of our people when we've won.
Wow. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Reinhardt. That's so nice. Is there anything else? No, there's plenty more. I just don't know where it went. Maybe it's here. Okay. Book Track Roof sent $10. People create your best dad jokes to get laid. Work on vocal skills. Blonde, what is your favorite dad joke?
My favorite dad joke? I can't think of one dad joke.
Great.
I can't. Can you?
Not right now. Not that I'm on the spot.
See, now that I'm on the spot, you're an actual father, so I feel like this is more of a failing. Do you know any dad jokes?
I just posted one on X inadvertently. You have to be careful with slippery slope arguments because once you start using them, it's easy to go too far.
The only thing that's coming to mind is how many Jews fit
This is your dad
in a
joke?
Volkswagen? 2 in the front, 2 in the back, 6 million in the ashtray. That's the only thing that's come to mind.
That's
I
not
don't
a
know.
dad joke.
I have not had enough coffee yet today. This is
No,
awful.
maybe you've had too much coffee.
I apologize to everybody for that awful joke. That's so shameful and evil and bad. And by the way, like a 12-year-old told me that. So
Okay, maybe it is a dad joke for this generation. Yeah, they're not messing around.
Yo, Jimbo Rockford sent $20. Here's some money because I like to see good people do good things.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Let's see. Thunderstorm sent $9.99 on YouTube. The ancient leader Führer selection system was best. Yeah, I mean,
They were
what?
elected.
Democracy?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know about that, but sure. We asked that question. Let me go to entropy because there's a bunch over here. Robert the Pivotal sent $5. Given RTTL places a focus on applicants who are socially engaged, cooperate, and community-minded, what percentage of their personal time per week goes to the company consider acceptable to devote to their local community?
Well, I mean, it depends. We really don't impose very much at all. For the members at Community One who are actually living there, we have dinner together once a week, and basically everyone shows up for that. Once in a while, we'll put together some kind of volunteer work day, and most people generally participate. We don't like to force it.
Nice. Okay.
Community dinner, that sounds lovely.
User account sent $3. For Aarvoll, what is your experience with members of the AFA? Are they allowed in RTTL? And would you be interested in attending an AFA event? What is AFA?
Yes, Ask a True Focus.
Oh, right.
So we have members in AFA, and I would love to attend one. Sure.
Robert the Pivotal sent $5. To foster cultural pride, do Return to the Land members participate in local Oktoberfest, Renaissance, and Colonial Festival, white-coated public events, or go on pilgrimages like the Oregon Trail, Lewis and Clark, etc.?
Interesting idea. We were going to go to a Renaissance fair at one point recently. Didn't end up happening. I think it was bad weather. But we try to be active in the community, like when there are county fairs and stuff like that. Although it's not exactly the best opportunity to go out and try to persuade people, or, showing up and having your face known in your town, I think is good enough.
Yeah.
There are town meetings,
Public
city
meetings.
council. Yeah, we go to that.
Nice. Yeah, it's actually, we've got like 2 events up here that I really like. One of them is we have like Scottish Highland Days up in Bonners Ferry. Have you been to that? They do like the log throwing and
we've done those
shot
games
put,
too.
stuff like that. It's really cool. And then down south in St. Mary's every year, it was just a couple weekends ago, actually, the Paul Bunyan Days. It's incredible. You go there and it's just like, this must be what America was like in 1950. It's just all white people. You don't have this like nagging feeling in your gut, like you're there with your kids, and it's like, yeah, I'm fine with them running around.
Yeah.
Like I am not imminently afraid of them getting stabbed in the neck or kidnapped and raped. This is nice. Isn't this wonderful? And then they do like tree climbing and wood splitting, and so it's fun. Anyway,
it's kind of like how it is up here just generally. Like I was in the park, I know. And someone just left all their belongings sitting there in the grass unattended.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It'll never get stolen.
Over in Vince's neighborhood, like the kids will like ride their bikes to the school bus stop and then just leave their bikes laying on the grass.
Until
get on
they get
school
home from
bus.
school, yeah.
8 hours later, come back, bike there, and then they go home.
It would be so shocking if one of their bikes got stolen.
It would honestly be front page news. Robert the Pivotal sent $5. Families have priority in getting membership in RTTL. However, are single parents, singletons, or siblings who live together, like the Cuthberts, able to qualify? Are there hotels for white travelers?
Was that an Anne of Green Gables reference?
I don't know.
It was.
It was.
The Cuthberts? Yeah.
Marilla and Matthew were siblings that lived together. Do any of you love Anne of Green Gables? My daughter's name is Emmeline. Nope, nothing. All right.
Isn't that the one, I'm thinking of the House of Seven Gables. That's very different.
It's okay. You guys aren't gay men. I don't know why you'd be familiar with Anne of Green Gables. Go ahead. I don't know.
Yeah. The gable is a truss style, I think. Right? Yeah. So I forgot the question.
I derailed you.
I guess the question is like, is there priority for getting families in over single people? What is there like special consideration for single parents or anything like that?
If you're a single parent, you can definitely still join RTTL, just depending on the totality of your application. And it's a case-by-case thing. But I mean, we prefer families. We'd be like more ready to accept a family, but there are plenty of single people. There are some single parents, even, there has been at least one living on the land at various points, but yeah.
Nice. I was kind of curious, is there like a buy-in, or an application fee or?
To join the PMA, it's a $25 membership fee. That's lifetime membership.
That's it?
Yep.
You got to jack those rates up. What are you doing, buddy? Who's advising you? You don't have any Jewish advisors, clearly.
No. People have been scamming on like TikTok and different platforms, posing as us and then charging like $400.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
And people have paid them. So actually, maybe it is a good idea. Raise it up.
You should raise the rates up. I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I was just kind of curious, right? Because the idea of like you're creating this pool of money, where does the PMA get more money to buy more land? You've got to be doing something to
We don't want to keep people out. So we are going to probably add like a higher tier of membership with benefits. That'll be a monthly thing. But.
See, because like the way that we keep our community here in North Idaho white is just by charging a fuck ton for the real estate. You just put a $2 million price tag on your house, and it's like, well, I'm not getting that one.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, Raven Resolve sent $25 on Entropy. What's up, Eric? You've discussed the network state before. It dawned on me that this may not evolve into multiple online, offline communities being recognized as sovereigns, but could be a Trojan horse for a single borderless world state in the style of the infamous protocols. Thoughts?
The network state could be a Trojan horse? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I guess he's talking about the network state, but thinking about your community, our community, the movement, whatever, being a Trojan horse for a single borderless world state in the style of the infamous protocols. I guess you're saying like white Judaism. Is that what this is, Raven? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I see a certain resemblance. I mean, you could say that we are emulating the Jews and that the Jews created a network of communities internationally, and we have members in Canada, we have members in different parts of the world, and we're willing to set up internationally at some point. Right now, we consider ourselves a national association. But I think it would be a good thing to have many networked communities around the world. I don't think that degrades the integrity of borders, though. I mean, the domain of the nation state is a certain class of interests, and that's way above the neighborhood. What we're trying to do, I don't think, is leading to some kind of international order, per se.
Got it. Yeah, I don't think so either. It's a stretch to go from, like, making a neighborhood to, like, a global thing. I mean, but there's always been a network. The alt-right, whatever you want to call this thing, has always kind of had a global... I mean, ever since the internet, really. Let's see. Top 3 Martingale sent $100. This is for having the balls to ask JF about spouse murder. His answer tells you all you need to know.
Wow.
Thank you for the big super chat. Okay, yeah. I mean, like you ask your questions, we ask them. We do it.
There's been no conviction, and we have to
I don't
believe
think
that
he murdered his wife.
since he's a pariah in Canada, you have to believe that the police would just
They would have gone out of their way.
every stone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Plus, like, I've got a friend of mine, you know, his wife dropped dead. And all of these people locally started spinning it like he killed his wife. And it's like the most fucked up thing ever.
What'd she die of?
She dropped dead.
Okay, that's not a cause.
She had like
of
a
death.
heart attack or something. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure they did an autopsy and figured out.
I don't remember. I didn't
attack.
follow that. But the point is, in the time between him finding her body and then the autopsy coming out, they were like trying to spin this whole story or whatever. So, I mean, it's the internet. People do shit like this. I don't know. Anyway, Petuk. I don't know how to say this. Can you guys make some better names
I
for
can't.
yourself?
It's just a blur.
CPETHUK. Pethuck. Anyway, unattended bikes are racist. Different feeling show. Good as usual, though. Love your Instagram page, Blonde.
Thank you. That is blonde_beast1. It's all recipes.
Nice.
Pictures of my kids.
Robert the Pivotal sent $5 on Entropy. What is the minimum monthly income to qualify for RTTL? Are there apartments other than race? What other physical characteristics does RTTL vet applicants for?
We're not really strict about physical characteristics. Like you don't have to be over 6 foot tall or anything like that.
What?
No manlets.
Yeah. What is this organization? I no longer support RTTL.
I mean, we try to be a very big tent, so there's no income requirement or anything like that. In the future, though, different communities themselves may set stronger standards. So up here, maybe we'll have a 6 foot requirement. Are you
As
back
it
on
should
board?
be. Dave can't come
I'm not allowed in? No. Why?
because you're 5'1".
Whoa!
I can
That was
confirm
my
that.
grandfather, by
He
the
was
way.
5'1".
My mother is like 4'11".
Oh, man.
She is like a hobbit. It's pretty bad. Nemi B sent $5 on Rumble. I'm no Aarvoll, but I built a fire pit this year. A 6-pack, my favorite racist podcasts, and yelling slurs as loud as I can into the fire has been very therapeutic. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
What is your favorite racist podcast? Let us know in the live chat. I am a
Please.
OG Devin Stack fan. Always will be my favorite racist podcast. What about you?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, Fuentes.
Oh, yeah. What
Obviously.
about you?
The Backlash.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Thank you.
I like think to myself, like, people listen. Why do people listen to our show? I don't get it.
Ugh. You should definitely listen to our show.
Listen to it. We know more than everybody. No, I'm kidding. We do have a wonderful letter here from a fan.
Oh, okay. I know him.
Yeah, I know him too. He texted
So it's
me that
probably
last
not.
night. I think I know what it is.
Poison.
I think I know what it is. We'll
I
see.
feel like you're really not using that knife right.
What? It's a Bowie knife. I don't know. We have like goofy. We have a thing for knives and AK-47.
I know what this is too.
This is. Wow. Can you read this? Because I'm not a.
I don't know if he wants us to read it. We're invited to their wedding.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you so much. We should go.
We're going to. That'll be great. When is it? Does it say where? November 3rd.
November 3rd.
Oh, no. November 10th.
I'll be in California.
No. Really?
Sorry, guys.
This might be a good excuse.
The Backlash is going to send you a wedding gift.
I'm going to try. This,
I'm so excited.
this will be
I met
fun.
them, and they are lovely
Congratulations.
people.
Well, yeah, they came to the straight thing, the straight pride thing in Boise.
And I was like, this is a hot young chick, and you look like an able-bodied young man. Why aren't you guys married?
And then I was like, you need to not worry about getting your shit together. Just
get married. And then a week later,
get married.
they're like, oh, we're engaged. I'm like, ha! We did that.
Nice. I also have something to open up from our friends at Atlas Bullion. So let's give this a go.
Is it more Nazi gold?
Hopefully. I think that there's something in here. It's been a minute.
Oh, this makes me so happy.
It has been a minute since I got a package from Atlas because
it says
the economy
attire
sucks.
should be church appropriate.
Shit.
This means you, Dave.
Hey, come
That's
on.
what it says on here.
Aren't they Catholic? Aren't they getting married
Yeah.
in the church? This should be pretty easy. I'm going to cut myself. Why do I do this?
Well, we'll get big views
We will? If I cut myself?
if you cut yourself.
Great. That's wonderful. Isn't this riveting? What
It's
did you
like Andrew Meyer opening
did
the
you-
pickle jar all over again.
Andrew Meyer? Is that his name?
Wait, Andrew.
What's his name?
What's his name? It's not Andrew
Meyer's
Meyer.
the Jewish guy.
Yeah.
Who, he wants to come on the show, by the way. He's probably going to clip this. He's been bugging. You had him on your show, right?
I have no memory of this.
You did. I saw him. He posted the.
No, I went on his show when he worked for Mike Cernovich, but it was almost 10 years ago, and I have no memory of it at all.
Chat, should we have Jews on this podcast?
My vote is no.
Should we allow Jews to come on?
Listen, my mom will freak out if we have any more Jews on this show. All right, what is it?
All right, this is great. Kenzie said, "Hey Dave, silver flipped BTC. Have a great day." Thanks.
Thanks,
and
Kenzie.
It's true. Silver is now the 7th largest. Can I?
Is this
hold
for
this
you
up?
or is this a show?
No, this is for the show. Will this auto? Yeah. See, silver flipped Bitcoin. Great. Thanks. Thanks for reminding me, Kenzie. But yeah, no, she sent, I think somebody donated like $100 or something
Oh, cool.
straight to Kenzie, and then Kenzie wanted it to go to us. So anyway, but by the way, while we're opening it, we have to mention, if you are looking at the economy, which is very fucked up right now, you should be protecting yourself.
That's
by
our
buying
financial analysis.
gold and silver. Yeah, the
It's
economy
very
is
fucked
very
up.
fucked up. Buy gold and silver from atlasbullion.com/backlash. They have plans as low as $55 a month with their silver package. They also have gold subscriptions, which are awesome. And they have diverse subscriptions as well.
Let me see this little
What
guy.
is that?
Okay.
All right, hold on. What do we got here?
This is 1 gram of silver,
Nice.
3 grams of silver. These are so tiny.
100 of this is from Dave L., a viewer and supporter of The Backlash.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave L. Well, this is great. Look
Can
at
I see
this.
that?
Yeah, those are 1 ounce.
We have a vault, right?
rounds. Yes, we do.
Okay.
What is this?
Thank you so much.
Well, these are fucking cool. What is this? Hold on a second. Look, I'm gonna check this out. I don't know what this is, but this is neato. Let's see if we can.
Neato.
Can we get you to?
Oh, no, it's auto zoom. I think you might be SOL, buddy.
No, it just did it. It did it. Come on. Okay, maybe not.
All right, we've
Never
got
mind. This is boring.
Elizabeth II, Dave's
I apologize.
favorite.
I will post pictures of
Canada.
this. Fuck Elizabeth II.
And then
She was awful. Got another one right there. But these are really cool. These look like some sort of like trade pieces. Does it say?
10th troy ounce. Right here. And then another gram.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Anyway,
donators. We really appreciate it.
That's based. Look at that. That one on the right is really cool. Anyway, thank you very much
These are such high quality.
to our friends at Atlas Bullion. You can protect yourself from financial debasement.
You got to be careful where you buy. I bought from
Yeah.
Amex, and those things move under magnets. So
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah.
From APMEX?
from Amex.
APMEX.
Oh, APM.
Yeah, Amex.
Amex.
Yeah.
Which is like the biggest
Yeah.
dealer, right?
Yeah. Well, then that's one of the things that Kenzie does. It's called an XRF machine, and it actually like scans it with a laser, makes sure that it is what they purport to be. If you do buy from like a local place, like a pawn shop or something, make sure that they have an XRF machine,
Right.
and that they're actually scanning this, because there are scammers out there and it's not good. So you need to make sure that you are buying from a reputable dealer. Also, another fun tip is the bigger the quantity of gold that you buy, the lower the premium will be. So like if you're buying like 1/10 of a gram or like a 1 gram gold piece, you might wind up spending like $1,000 more per ounce if you buy it in the smaller denominations. So just some considerations, but please protect yourself from financial debasement. We've got a big meeting with the Fed next week. Jerome Powell, or is that this week? Jay Powell's going to be looking at cutting the fund rate 25 basis points.
Yep.
And if he doesn't, it's going to go fucking sideways. Anyway, atlasbullion.com. We also have to thank Idaho Tallow Company. If you are sick and tired of skincare packed with chemicals you can't pronounce, North Idaho Tallow Company keeps it simple with grass-fed tallow, time-tested ingredients, and zero junk. Their soaps, balms, and lip balm are packed with bioavailable nutrients your skin actually needs. No fillers, endocrine disruptors, just rugged, reliable skincare that works. Ditch the synthetic garbage and switch to North Idaho Tallow Company. Get yours at idahotallow.com. backlash.com. So thank you very much to Atlas Bullion, Idaho Tallow, and Antelope Hill Publishing. We've got a couple of last-minute super chats. This one is from New Renaissance, sent $5, immediately sending penance for accidentally sending you an email with a Groucho Marx quote at the bottom. After a little further reading, I will never do that again. Okay.
Was that just a Backlash info?
I guess. I haven't even gotten it yet. All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind. And I think that actually does it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank
How about that?
JF. Thank you, Eric, for joining us. Send us a late RSVP for the event tonight if you would like to come so we can check you out. That is info@thebacklash.com.
.net.
.net.
Backlash.net.
Find all of our links at thebacklash.net, where to find us, all of our new platforms. We have an Instagram account now. We do TikTok, apparently, because we are so young and cool. Just joking.
We also have merch now.
And we have merch. Check out our merch.
Nobody has bought any merch.
Please do. Don't tell people that. Our merch is super popular and it's flying off the shelves. Get yours. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Big 9/11 show.
Yep, big 9/11 show.